Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Law of Attraction Roundtable. I'm your host, Gary Temple Bodley. With me today is the lovely and talented Kimberley Leet. Kimberley, how are you?
Great, thanks. Hi, Gary, and thank you everyone who's watching and listening to this. Pleasure to be here as always.
We are going to have a fun time today because we have a question from Uriel, and it's about sex and masturbation. Sounds like fun, huh? Why are you giggling? Your face got all
Let's talk about sex.
Okay, cool. So anyway, we live in a society, especially in America, right, which is Puritan. And so there's a whole bunch of problems with sex and masturbation and all these things. We just had a big event at the Joshua House this weekend. And we have 2 bathrooms upstairs. They face to the back of the house. They're on the 2nd floor. And there's a addition below them. That's our kitchen and family room. And so from those rooms, which have windows in them, you can see all the backyard, but you can't really see them because you have to be really far away. And I never had a chance to put blinds up. So you're in, one of them's the window's in the shower, right? And the other one's right next to the shower. And so we had people staying here. And I'm like, do you guys care that there's no blinds up? And then and Pernilla was like, no, I'm Swedish. Why would I care? And they were like, no, why would we care? So most Americans are really bashful, really worried about being seen naked. And it's, it dates back to the Puritans that really took over. But it's funny how those limiting beliefs carry on through generations and generations, and the whole society's like that. So I think we're getting more open as we get more progressive.
Yeah, and it depends on the culture. So Australia is probably similar to America, probably a bit more actually, because we take a lot from the British. So we're not as open here about sex than some other countries. My husband's country of origin, Brazil, they're very open about sex there. Sex is influenced in their music, their TV programming. Sex is a fundamental part of their culture, really. I'll tell you a funny story, actually. When I was in Brazil just recently, in Brazil, there's this popular music type called funk, Brazilian funk. Now, the lyrics are very explicitly sexual. Now, I only know a little bit of Portuguese, so I don't really understand the music. So this is just how open they are about sex. We went to a wedding and they had funk music there. So you have this music that's very explicitly sexual. You've got like the mothers, the grandmothers, all twerking it out, this explicit sexual music. You know what I mean? For someone in Australia knowing, I don't understand the lyrics, but I know it's very sexual. I'm a bit like, even for me, I was like, wow, this is a bit, it just shows how different our cultures are. Yeah. Like if that was in English played in Australia, everyone would be a bit like, well, should I be dancing to this? It's a bit too sexual, a bit like, So that's just one example of different cultures and how sex is, influenced in their society.
Yeah. We were in Amsterdam, and there's a very famous spa outside of Amsterdam that in the Netherlands, all the spas are totally naked, right? So you walk in and they give you a robe or something or a towel, but basically everyone's naked. And for the tourists, they had to add a bathing suit day. So one day a week they have a bathing suit day and the rest is naked. And I was like, can we go to that? But we're only there on the weekend. I'm like, come on, we should go. And it's like, no, we didn't go because we're Puritans. We're shy. But I think that would have been fun. Anyway, so there's this whole thing about, like Joshua has always said, in a natural world, free from the fear of your modern society, you would have all these experiences and you would be free to be yourself without any, belief that your body meant anything about you. And you would simply seek the pleasure in all these things. And so you would have, multiple partners and have sex whenever you wanted to have sex, and it wouldn't be seen as a thing. And imagine if life was like that. Not only that you could just have sex whenever you wanted to have sex without, we have all these fears of disease and these things, but that even if you were in a relationship, you would do it. You would have sex because your partner wouldn't have this fear that you're going to leave them. You wouldn't be attached to this person. And that's, I think, the greatest reason for jealousy? Is this fear of loss of the relationship, or fear of this unworthiness if anyone just flirts with somebody else? If you think of it from a higher perspective, what are you really fearing? You're fearing that they're going to leave you to go with someone else, or that they're disrespecting you by being flirtatious with someone else. It doesn't really make any sense to those of us who are now embarking on this new way of thinking, where we look at the fear and is it rational or is it irrational?
Mm. And it also depends on the person, on what you came here to explore.
Right.
For some people, they want to explore this. They want to explore open relationships. They want to explore their sexuality with multiple partners, but that's not for everybody. So one thing is not to judge, because there are many people in open relationships, but people don't talk about it because it's a taboo, especially in Australia, and probably in America, so I'm not too sure. But sexuality can be expressed in many different ways. And throughout our perceived history, in ancient times, there was a thing called sacred sexuality, and it was practiced, within the temples. Mary Magdalene was practicing this with Yeshua. I've actually channeled Mary Magdalene a few times in private sessions, and we talked about sacred union with another. So it's more than just sex as well. So if you are guided to explore these multiple partners, then so be it. It is for you. Does not mean it's for everybody. A lot of people are, feel guided to explore just with one partner, not because of fear, because they want to explore the connection. So in ancient times, this was explored a lot, the sacred sexuality, and it's about the merging of the divine feminine and divine masculine energies. It's basically a oneness technique, and it helps to expand yourself, the consciousness of all that is. So, this is practiced a lot. I mean, Hathor was really into that. Her image was actually chiseled away in the temples there because, the Coptic Christians thought it was blasphemous, all the thing about sex and sexuality. And, it's always been there in ancient times, but through religion, they've kind of like edged it out, those techniques, and it kind of went underground to like secret societies and in the goddess temples and so forth. But sexuality, it's individual to everybody. So it's basically what you're guided to do. It's about reserving judgment, because everyone came here to explore certain things. So if you feel guided to have an open relationship and explore multiple partners, then so be it. Maybe you feel guided to explore it with just one partner because you want to explore that oneness technique and what it is like to explore fully just with one person. So everyone is different, but you're right. Fear limits a lot of people in relations around sex and sex within relationships.
Okay, great. So let's get into the question. I'll read the question, then we'll start with Ishtar's answer. I'm wondering what is holding our current society back from talking freely about the topic of sex and masturbation. To me, it's simply to give pleasure to my body and feel good by the end. Is it the shame of something? Is it the fear of being rejected? I'd love some clarification. Thanks, Muriel. All right, let's see what Goddess Ishtar has to say.
All right. D1. Sex is the most natural creative union with the body and spirit, available for you in creative play as a human being. Sex has been attributed to many stories in your perceived history as a human being. Throughout the human evolution, sex has been used as a tool to connect to the primal forces within the human vessel that connects you to Gaia, to another, and ultimately yourself. It has been used as an alchemical process, both in body, in consciousness, creating a balancing of energies and co-creating oneness consciousness within your reality, aiding the remembrance of oneness in the collective consciousness. Sex and sexual pleasure, in whatever creative way you wish to explore this energetic dance, allows for freedom and power to be felt within the human vessel, within the soul space. Sex has been used for control, for pleasure and for shaming. The different context has been focused on through the different human timelines and in society for different intentions. What you see in your current experiencing is a result of the momentum of this exploration.
So there's so much in just sex. There's the ability to perceive oneness consciousness, to have this collective consciousness brought forth in sex, and also pleasure and control and all of these other things.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And that's why, you know, this is the human experience. And throughout our perceived history, you know, sex has been used for control, especially, you know, the divine feminine collective as well. So it's just interesting how sex has been used throughout different periods of time, and how, and what we see today is just a momentum of that. But, you know, things are shifting. Things are coming more open. Women are reclaiming more of their power back. And because of that, sex is becoming more open. It's not being shamed as much. So things are shifting, but it just shows that, you know, it has influenced a lot to what we see today.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
In your society, in a society that has been based on duality consciousness, represented in fear and love, self-pleasure has been conditioned in many ways to be aligned with fear. Fear of people's perceptions, fear of one's own power. It ultimately comes down to fear of power, fear of the eternal power within, fear of expressing power, fear of embracing the primal forces that connect you to your human vessel and that connects you to Gaia and her forces. Fear has stifled you as a society to not reclaim your power. Through sex and pleasure is one more aspect where fear has taken away your perceived self-expression to tap into the pleasures of the human body, to tap into the pleasures of the primal power within.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? All the different
Yeah.
fears associated with sex.
So in duality conscious, that's the idea that things are either good or bad, right or wrong. And your beliefs cause you to perceive something as good or bad, right or wrong. Since there is no wrong anywhere in the universe, if you perceive something as wrong, sex, masturbation, any aspects of this subject, it's due to a limiting belief. Without the limiting belief, you could not possibly perceive it as wrong. Everything is right, and that's what neutrality consciousness is all about. There is nothing inherently good or bad, evil or otherwise, right or wrong. It's all neutral, and you choose from a personal perspective what it means to you.
Yeah. And I really like what she says here, that it's actually fear of one's own power, fear of expressing the inner power. And I can see why that is, because especially it's probably a bit different between, you know, the male and female, you know, with the divine feminine consciousness. To be sexual, you know, has been seen in our society, conditioned as a shameful thing, you know. I mean, it is shifting, but to be tapped into that sexual energy, the primal force of the human being, you're actually tapping into the power that is inherently within you. So for you not to embrace that part of you, it's like you're not embracing that part of you that makes you human. I mean, you're much more than a human, but you're here expressing life as a human for a reason. And this primal life force connects you to Gaia. And by you being able to tap into that, you are basically telling the universe, you're telling yourself, you're not afraid of your own power. And, you know, like I said, throughout time, it's been shamed upon, especially with women, to express, you know, their sexual nature. So, you know, things are shifting, and yeah. So it's about knowing that you're worthy and not being scared of your own power.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Sexual pleasure is meant to be pleasurable. And such pleasure is not to be ashamed about. which has been within your human conditions. This is especially more pertinent for the divine feminine collective, where sex has been used to control the rise of the feminine, to create fear in the collective, which has influenced the feminine collective in its expression in society today. You chose this powerful game of co-creation as a male or as a female, with the knowing that these games within the illusion of your reality is catalyzing, triggering, and activating the duality energies to be transformed and remembered as one energy, one species, one energy that expands all that is, the energy of Source. You and your society are playing their roles within the dance of sexuality to remember the pleasure of bliss, freedom, and power with you that has always been within you, for all is one.
So not only is sex pleasurable, but it's also this idea that this is the gateway to oneness consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, like it has been practiced by many, throughout our timelines about this. So, yeah, especially with, like I said, with the feminine collective consciousness. And what we tend to see is that, this is an illusion. So all these notions of shame, all these notions of control and power that we've received in our history, that's what we see the momentum here today with how sex is expressed in our society. It's perfect. So how it is today in society is perfect because there is a reason why this is happening for our collective consciousness. Everyone is playing their role. The males are playing the role. The females are playing the role. It's allowing us to tap more into our own power. So everything is perfect the way it's playing out right now.
And if you think about this time in history too, with the advent of the internet and all the internet porn, most of the internet is used for porn, and there's just this unbelievable wide variety of possibilities that without the internet we wouldn't even realize was a thing, and this is expanding everyone's mind. And as it gets, obviously there's downsides to this availability of porn, but the upside is that you can see that your particular interest is the interest of other people as well, even if you were ashamed of it. Everyone, there is nothing that is not fancied by somebody. It's like this huge, broad spectrum of possibility, and it's all right. There isn't anything wrong with it.
That's right.
All right, we're on the last one.
Yeah. How sexual pleasure is discussed and experimented with within your society is happening the way it's supposed to be played with accordance to divine time. You are already seeing shifts in this area. However, you may wish it to be more open than it is within society. There is no rush here. There is much going on within the union of masculine and feminine energies that draws on the creative interplay of sexuality for expansion. For you playing in this dance of primordial life force energies, tapping into the physical pleasure of such play to feel good is an effective tool for you in your expansion journey. Embrace it, play with it, feel the energies assist you in aligning to the divine love state that you are. Not everyone's journey in this creative play of the illusion will be like yours, nor should it be. Everyone is playing the creative dance the way they chose to explore it, in alignment to what they chose to explore and alchemize as a source being in a human body. They have a role, society has a role in finding empowerment through the human vessel. All is perfect, for all is occurring in accordance to the divine plan of humankind. It is with such love that we come through. We honor your journey. We honor the journey of mankind to remember oneness in love.
And
Goddess
so,
Ishtar.
just like everything else in physical reality, everyone is on their own unique exploration. Shifts are happening, just as shifts are happening in general, from people moving from fear to love. Things are getting more open. We're expanding more in joy, but it all comes down to how you personally want to explore it. So it's right for you, however you want to do it, and you need not pay attention to anyone else.
That's it. And, you know, especially for Muriel here, you know, she's asking why is society like this? You know, why can't it be more open? But it's the way it is perfect. And there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that we're not aware of. So even though in her experience of sexuality, she might be very open to this, exploring this and open to this, but a lot of people may not be. And that is still perfect because that's what they chose to explore. So it's about embracing your own journey. If you choose to play the game in this way, in this illusion, then experiment with this way. It doesn't mean that everybody else wishes to play this game, not because of fear. Yes, there is a lot of fear, but because they chose to play it in a different way. But what is happening, like you said, shifts are occurring and a lot of this stuff is coming more open to the forefront. And these illusions of shame that sexuality, you know, has been attributed to is now melting away. So, you know, you can see it now. There are big shifts.
Yeah. And from our perspective, it doesn't seem like it's happening quick. But from the perspective of really, this has been 2,000 years of suppression, and the change is absolutely occurring radically quick. But you know, we've only been around for 50, in my case, 56 years. And so that is a small timeline, but it's really changing quickly from that. All right, let's go on to read Joshua. Dear Muriel, you have a unique set of beliefs, as do all humans. Some of your beliefs are limiting, while others are empowering. These beliefs shape your reality. You have the ability to alter your beliefs through analysis and processing. In the end, you must reach for the higher perspective that is aligned with love. From the limited perspective of fear, you feel negative emotions. Fear and shame are examples of negative emotions, and they reflect your beliefs. You may perceive something wrong in the activities you choose, yet your inner self sees no wrong in any of it. That means that you are absolutely free to do anything you desire without needing anyone else's approval. However, that also means that everyone else is free to do whatever they desire without your approval. So this is all about you, right? Your beliefs inform your reality, and what comes to you is based on your vibration that you're emitting. If you want something more to come or something different, it's an individual thing, and you are responsible for the vibration you're emitting based on the beliefs that you have. If you think there's a problem outside, in the outside world, well, that doesn't apply to you. That's everyone else. You just have to focus on your beliefs and processing those beliefs and the fears, and then you can change your vibration based on that, and then some new experience will come to you. Okay? What makes you feel good? Is that feeling aligned with love? If so, then it is for your benefit, expansion, and pleasure. You may feel free to engage in any activity that is aligned with love and with who you truly are. Who are you? You are a limitless and magnificent being of pure positive love and acceptance. Therefore, you may engage in whatever gives you pleasure. Pleasure is the key word. And in fact, when I just went and saw Abraham talked mostly about pleasure. If meditation gives you pleasure, then that's the benefit of meditation. Not to change your reality because you're meditating now on financial abundance, which is literally 10 times more popular than any other Joshua meditation, is the financial abundance one. Because everyone says, if I meditate this, then I'm going to get more financial abundance. So they're trying to control their financial abundance through meditation, you know?
Yeah.
But really, everything's for the pleasure of it.
That's right.
Because the pleasure is alignment.
And pleasure, that's right, it's alignment, and it's a gateway to your own power. So if it gives you pleasure, then embrace it. And if you have fear in relations to this, then a lot of it is fear of one's own power. You're worried about being shamed.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, this story is in, especially the Divine Feminine Collective, it's been there for a very long time. So it obviously she doesn't have a problem with this, it seems, from the question. So, but those of you watching this or listening to this, if you have fear in relation to embracing your sexuality, then go inwards and meditate on that and find what gives you pleasure in a sexual way. And from that way, it kind of opens up one more step to exploring your sexual nature, whether that is with one partner, whether it is many partners. That's up to you, what you're guided to do. So when you act on something, it's about listening to what feels good. Does it feel good to do that? Also, people might want to have multiple partners because of fear, because they don't want to feel tied to one person. That's also a fear. So why are you doing it? Are you doing it because of love, or are you doing it out of fear? That's the key there.
Yeah, or they're trying to get a sense of worthiness by having certain sexual partners or different ones, especially in guys. That's that whole conquest idea,
Mm-hmm.
It's like this status thing, and it's trying to prove your worthiness through these conquests.
And is it an addiction? Because sexual addiction is actually a real thing. Instead of using drugs and alcohol, some people use sex. Makes them feel better about themselves, makes them escape reality.
Well, they use it as an excuse to feel better.
That's right.
Habitually.
So why are you doing it? So that's the question there. Mm-hmm.
What I really admire is like Miley Cyrus. So many celebrities got, hacked, and their nude photos or anything were just spread on the internet. She goes ahead and makes all these photos, totally open, totally nude, does not care, and lets them out there. I'm like, what am I here to be ashamed of? I have a great body. Why do I care? And the Paris Hilton sex tapes, as these things started, no one can shame them now, right? Because literally they became famous from these things, and launched their lives from what everyone else perceives as bad. It really turns the idea of shame up on its head.
That's right. Again, it's taking back your own power. There's a theme here. With one's own power.
And okay. Imagine not being free to have, be, and do anything you wish. If you are limitless, then how could you possibly be limited by anything? It's simply fear. The fear is irrational. It is not real. It is not true. It is based in fear, and therefore the associated negative ramifications are not real. Who imposes such limitation? Is it society? Are there laws and rules in place? Are there mores and taboos? All limitations are self-imposed, especially in the area of sex. Mm-hmm. You're the one who says, no, I can't do that because of the belief system that you have. Right? No one else is telling you. You just have this fear that what if people find out, or what will people think of me if they won't they judge me? Of course we all do it, but at least now we're thinking about it. In a free and natural world, you would happily engage in any sexual activity that provides you and your body with pleasure. There would be no limits to what you could enjoy. You could have multiple partners or please yourself. It would not matter. In fact, you would have no need to wear clothes other than to keep your body warm. However, the fear of generations past has provided you with certain beliefs that are limiting. There is no wrong with these beliefs. They're simply limiting. They limit you from participating in activities and experiences you desire. This is true of sex and every other possible subject. Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with fear. It's just limiting. Just realize that you're limitless, and it's the fear that limits you from doing what you want to do or what you're inspired to do. Yeah. It also limits you from doing urges to change conditions too, right? Just like you had said before. The fear also prevents you from acting on urges that aren't aligned with who you truly are. Mm-hmm. So fear is not bad, it's just limiting. And if you are inspired, and if that inspired idea is aligned with who you really are and with love, then you can take the first step in that direction, and you can prove the limiting beliefs are false. But also remember, if that desire is born out of the urge to change the conditions or make yourself feel worthy or whatever, then the fear will prevent you from doing that. And that is probably a good thing.
And, and probably sexual pleasure, a lot of the time, maybe you don't realize what we're doing it for, because we just want that feeling, that instant feeling of feeling good. But you may not have time to, or take that time to actually go inwards and go, why do I want to do this? Because we've been conditioned not to think like that with sex. We've been conditioned to be like, I want that sexual gratification right now. Doesn't matter why I want it, but why do we want it? Yeah. So this teaches us as well to have more of an awareness around sex and really go inwards and ask yourself why you want to do the things you do. If it feels good to you, if it is aligned to you, then do it. Explore it. Your way of exploring sexuality is unique to you. It's unique to everybody. It does not mean your way of sexual experiencing has to be the same as someone else's. So, be aware of when the fear does pop up and, go inwards, analyze what is that about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
and also, if you realize that this is really a spiritual connection, it seems like a physical connection, but it's really a spiritual connection. Just like this conversation is, we are spiritually connected in this conversation. And when you're having sex, you're definitely spiritually connected in that if you're paying attention to it. And that could bring so much more to it from that higher perspective. And
like I said, this oneness practice, sacred sexuality, has been actually really focused on, in ancient cultures. And a lot of these teachings are still available. It's not really open in our society. And what happens when you use sacred sexuality and really connect to someone, it is a gateway to oneness. You're connecting your energy with another. By doing that, you're balancing the feminine and the masculine energies. You're creating oneness consciousness. You're creating expansion. So it is a lot more than sexual nature. You might choose to not focus on that and just do the sexual gratification and so forth. That's for you. Then it's so forth. That's for you. But if you be mindful of it, use the breath. Of course, there's many techniques in relation to this. Most commonly is, Tantra, but, it's been in ancient Egypt, India. A lot of ancient cultures have explored this. And it's only our modern society that's kind of, shamed it, it's, especially religion. Religion has been the main thing that has suppressed it, I guess, to be open in society. But know that there's nothing to be shamed about sexuality. You explore it the way that is unique to you, that gives pleasure to you, that allows you to feel blissful and connected, whatever way that is for you. Imagine if you set your intentions prior to having sex, be clear about, I want to feel joy, I want to feel good, I want to be spiritually connected, that sort of thing. Well, it is a form of meditation if you choose to look at that in that perspective, because it is a connection of energies and it is a pathway to go deeper into the breath, into the body, to connect to who you are as a human. Into the concentration, focused thought. Yeah. Yeah. Thought that manifests into something like an orgasm. You really have to focus that thought or not focus on it. You sometimes have to think about baseball for a while. All right. If you want to live a less limited life, you must address your limiting beliefs. If you are content with living the life you have now, then there would be no need to process limiting beliefs. They are not wrong or bad. They're simply limiting. As a limitless being, you define your own limitations. You're responsible for pushing past your fears and moving outside your comfort zone. Others will seek to control you in order to placate their own fears. If you choose to succumb to that control, you agree to your limitations. If you choose to experience a life that is in alignment with who you really are, you become less limited and more authentic. The choice is always yours. You may maintain your self-imposed limitations, or you may process them to become more authentic. Whatever you choose will be right for you as you exist in this moment. In future moments, you may choose different things. With our love, we are Joshua. Ta-da! Look at this. Perfect timing, perfect everything. This is a fun subject. We'd like more questions about sex. Let's just have a podcast just about sex. Spirituality and sex. Sex in spirituality. Yeah.
We're fine.
Well, you know,
You're not convinced.
well, no, because what's happening is that, because I said I've channeled Mary Magdalene a few times, and she focuses on this a lot, and I've focused on this in private sessions, with, you know, connecting sacred union with your partner. And yeah, so in the near future, that's something I'm going to be bringing forth actually a course around.
That'd be a great course.
Through Mary Magdalene. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that'd be a great course.
yeah, so a lot of it, like I said, has been suppressed, and a lot of these teachings has been known throughout our timelines. And it's a source of empowerment. It's just how we attribute it to shame, you know, in society, and sexual pleasure. But if we can recognize that this is nothing to be ashamed about, it's actually a tool to connect to your source self. It's a tool of expansion. Once you can recognize that it's a spiritual act, it's not just a sexual act. Yes, there are many different forms of sexuality and different techniques that can be just for gratification, but when you feel good, you're aligning to more of who you are, right? So it's a one more step. And once you can have the intention, the conscious awareness about why you are doing it, you know, why are you doing these sexual acts? Are you doing it to feel good? Are you doing it to escape reality? Are you doing it to feel more connected?
Or more worthy or something.
That's correct. But yeah, sexuality podcast, that sounds fun. Because like I said, it will take the stigma out, because to this day, talking about sex openly, it's still taboo.
I bet you there's a ton of great sexual podcasts. I wonder if there's any law of attraction or spirituality based sex podcasts, but I guarantee you there are some out there too. All right. So let's wrap this up. Tell everyone how they can connect with you.
Right. So if you want more information about me and offerings, then jump over to my website at beingsofthelight.com. We have a Facebook group, Beings of the Light with Kimberley Community. If you go on the website, you'll find links to my podcast, Patreon, where I offer services through there and individual services. We've got a lot of YouTube videos there. So yeah, jump over and have a look if you're inspired.
Awesome. And the best way to connect with Joshua right now, well, there's a bunch of ways, but one is the teachingsofjoshua.com or Friends of Joshua on Facebook. And we are going to be releasing Joshua's 5th book called An Authentic Life in the middle of November. You'll be able to do pre-orders before then. And that's pretty exciting coming up. There's the first book in a couple of years. So also the next boot camp starts November 4th. So if you're getting this podcast before then, otherwise we'll have another one in January. And if you want to contact me and talk about anything, just email joshuateachings@gmail.com. Thank you all for being here. Kimberly, thank you for being here. Wonderful as always. And we will see you again soon. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.